Jehovah Jireh, you're my provider. Jehovah Nissi, Lord, you reign in victory. Jehovah Shalom, you're my Prince of Peace. And Lord, I worship you because of who you are. And Lord, I worship you because of who you are. Jehovah Jireh, you're my provider. Jehovah Nissi, Lord, you reign. Jehovah, my Prince, I worship you. Not for what you do, but because of who you are. Jehovah Jireh, you're my provider. Jehovah Nissi, Lord, you reign.
And it says Jesus went unto the Mount of Olives. And early in the morning he came again unto the temple. And all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. People don't like to be taught. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, isn't that something? And they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what do you say? This they said, tempting him that they might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, you go ahead and throw the first stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. And when Jesus had lifted himself up and saw nobody but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are your accusers? Has no man condemned thee? She said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Before you take your seat this morning, I want to talk from the subject, pointing fingers and casting blame. You know, my brothers and sisters, we live in a world where it seems that finger pointing and casting blame is all too often at play in our little world. In other words, it goes on more than it ought to. My friends, it happens at home. I don't know about your house, but every now and then, I just won't say it, but it happens in the home. Somebody is pointing a finger and casting blame. Young folks, it happens at school. I didn't do it, but so-and-so did it. Yeah, it's not my fault. And then when you find out that somebody did something wrong, you want to beat them down like you never done no wrong. yourself. Can I make it plain here? Yeah. It happens. It happens on the playground. When things don't go right, somebody pointing a finger. Everything is all right till the teacher show up. Then somebody want to always tell the teacher on somebody else. They had just done the same thing and didn't get caught, but they can tell on you. Can I take you back some days? Somebody have been through that? Amen. It happens at school, on the playground. It happens on your streets. It's getting warm now. People not in the house. They coming out. Amen. They don't have to go down to the playground. They can sit outside the house. And you can see stuff going on, stuff that ought not to be going on. Somebody throwing a rock, somebody doing something that they ought not to do, and they'll point fingers. Rock throwing is all right till you break something. That's all right. You can throw rocks all day, but when you break something, Mama told us not to throw rocks. You didn't remember that till you broke something. I'm going to move on. But I must inform you that it happens at the house of God. Yeah, Christians. If you're not careful, they'll point fingers. Instead of finding a solution to the problem, instead of reaching down and asking God's forgiveness and trying to help somebody, say they did it. I know some people that love to make themselves look good. Yeah, I ain't going to stay there long. But it happens among those, not only those that are my friends that don't claim to know Christ, but it happens among those that claim to know the Lord. Yeah, it seems that in every walk of life, there's a segment of people that find it necessary to point out the ills and the sins of others with boldness, but yet not recognizing the fact that their track record is kind of spotty as well. Yeah. You know, when your track record ain't what it ought to be, then you ought to be concerned about your track record instead of worrying about somebody else's track record. Am I in the right place here? But Jesus was focused. He was focused on feeding the flock of God. And wouldn't you know it, the devil came with a disruption. Because in verse number 3, I'm already there, the scribes and the Pharisees, you do know them. They were the religious aristocracy of the day. They thought, dot every I, cross every T. We still got some. Amen. They knew it all. They could keep every iota of the law. But I come to tell you that you know I can't keep it to the T. Thank God for mercy. And here they says, my friends, they came, but not only did they come, if you would, my friend, they brought this woman with them. Woman had gotten misguided, engaged in some sinful activity, and they had the holy audacity not just to tell Jesus, but they brought her in here. Sat down among these holy folks. Yeah, paraded around, degraded her to the lowest degradation, casting blame, oh my God, and pointing fingers. There are some folks that would rather do that instead of worship because that's what they were there for. They were there to worship. They were there to be taught. They were there on orders from God, and my friends, here come the distraction. They were in the presence of Jesus, and they took it upon themselves to point fingers and cast blame. Don't you think Jesus could have handled it? They have gone out and sniffed out this inappropriate behavior. You know, I wonder sometimes who told them? How did all of them know? You know, sometimes, my friend, they out sweeping around somebody else's door, and they don't. You got to look at the mess around your own door. Yeah. And now with all of this technology, you get the news from everywhere. Yeah, it used to be if you what you used to call that phone where you had 8 folks on the line, party line. You got more than party line now. Is that right? Yeah, you got more than, everybody knew 2 rings was so and so, long and the short was so and so, 2 longs up here. Folks sitting by the phone, wonder what they talking about.
So the relevant question,
I ain't gonna
what
keep
does
y'all
the
that
text
long
teach us?
this morning. Young people, hear me. What does the text teach us with respect to pointing fingers and casting blame? Sometimes when you write, you just get so right that you become self-righteous. Right all the time. Ain't never wrong. But it teaches us, my friends, first, it teaches us that a critical and judgmental spirit never supersedes God's standard of righteousness. I don't care how right you think you are. It never supersedes God's standard of righteousness. Oh my goodness. Because it says, my friends, and they said this tempting him and to accuse him, but look at verse number 6. But Jesus stooped down with his finger. He didn't give him an answer. That confuses the devil. When you don't jump right back up and start giving your 2 cents worth. Am I right? Jesus was left alone and just a woman. They were casting blame at first. They were ready to see Jesus stone her to death. And think about us and our actions. Sin is sin. Amen. And Jesus and his love and his forgiveness. And my friends, they dropped their rocks. And there are some today that need to drop their rocks.